Supernatural, extra sense, or human, didn't matter. Salt in the eyes was salt in the eyes. Sliding forward, John turned all his considerable weight behind a right cross at Flunky 3's nose. 3's scream from the salt became a gurgle as cartilage broke, and he choked on blood. A wild hook from Flunky 2 made John duck, using his legs to push himself back up. This put a little more ass behind his hit. The angle of the uppercut had John hitting Flunky 2 just below his ear, dislocating the man's jaw with an audible pop. After landing the punch, John dropped into a crouch on habit. Comically, this put him in position for Flunky 1 to trip over him, the man landing on the ground with a thud to John's right. When F1 tried to get up, John buried an elbow in his cheekbone, shattering it with a satisfying crunch. With her cohorts handled, John's gaze fell on the four-eyed woman. She'd stumbled back into a table and was trying to open her eyes. Striding over to her then leaning in, he put his hands on either side of her on the table. "Demon's not all he's cracked up to be, is he?" John asked. "Shut up," she screamed at him, trying to push him away. When that didn't work, she pulled back to slap him, easily moving back out of her range. He sighed. Having gotten close, he realized she was younger than he first thought. "Some free advice? Leave town, ditch the demon, and sort your life out. Whatever you're trying to do, Quahose isn't the answer." "I said shut up, asshole," she shouted, staggering toward the door. "Whatever, I'm leaving town tonight. Try to find me once you lick your wounds, Q-hole." He had no intentions of letting them find him. It was simply an attempt to divert their attention from the townsfolk. With Flunkies 1, 2, and 3 lurching after her, they all exited the bar. They were probably heading back to whoever was in charge, because there was no way those 4 were leading whatever this escapade was. The bar was silent until the sound of their engine faded as they drove away. "Holy shit, where'd you learn how to do that?" Heston asked, his eyes wide with admiration. Biting back a grimace and ignoring the question, John turned to the barkeep to pay his tab and leave. However, the townspeople weren't letting him get away that easy. He really had planned on hitching up and leaving tonight, but the beer was flowing, and he wasn't paying. He figured he probably had until afternoon before the Q-holes bribed someone for his address. Then they'd retaliate at sundown. Demons were dramatic like that. So, against his better judgment, John stayed. By the time he got back to his beat-up camper, he barely had enough sense left to lock his door behind him. Crawling beneath wrinkled sheets, still fully clothed, he fell right to sleep. John woke to 3 things: a headache, something suffocating him, and someone banging on his door. Pushing the small ball of gray fur off his face, he sat up. In protest of such abhorrent treatment, it let out an annoyed meow. "Yeah, I'm not any happier about it," he grumbled at the kitten. The banging continued, and doubting the Q-holes were the knocking type, he yelled back, "Give me a damn minute." There was a pause, then one final bang. Answering the call of nature before the door, John followed that up with a few aspirin and the remainder from a bottle of water. Stumbling to the door, he opened it to a woman with her hands on her hips. She was pretty enough, with her hair pulled back in a functional ponytail, jeans, work boots, and a button-up plaid shirt. He'd certainly seen worse. "About damn time," she snarled. "Good morning to you too." "Don't you good morning me, you piece of shit. Those bastards you tussled with last night took Heston. Damn. And you're his sister. Double damn. They said they couldn't find you, so they were grabbing the next best thing to flush you out." Using Heston to flush John out sounded awful personal for people he'd never met before last night. Plus, he told them he'd leave. "You spoken with Sheriff Hall yet? How do you think I got your address? So why are you here instead of him?" Because Hall searched their property already, and Heston wasn't there. It's my word against theirs. In my experience, they're usually not that smart. And in my experience, people who pick fights aren't you. John shrugged. "You're not wrong. You still haven't said why you're here." "Because you're going to help me get him back, or I will make sure they find you," she spat. clenching her jaw and glaring him down. "Ah, blackmail. Fair play. Come on in, then." Turning in the doorway, he scooped up the attempted escape artist while stepping inside. Its endeavor thwarted. The kitten attacked his fingers and tried to wriggle free. The camper wasn't dirty or cluttered, but he hadn't been expecting company. "Have a seat," he said. Looking between the small, fold-out couch and the dinette, she opted for the dinette. Dropping the kitten on her once she was seated, he said, "Hold this while I get it food," before turning away to do just that. Her eyes had widened when he dropped the ball of teeth and claws in her hands, but when he turned back around, it was on its back, purring. "Traitor." He set the food on its mat, then she put it on the floor so it could toddle over and eat. "I wouldn't take you for a cat person," she said, watching the kitten. "I'm not," he said. Grabbing a bottle of water from the unpowered fridge, John drank half the tepid liquid as he sat on the fold-out couch. "It showed up one day and wouldn't leave," he said mildly, holding her gaze. Her face went stony. "Maybe if you hadn't involved someone else in your bullshit, she wouldn't be here in the first place." He looked down at the kitten. "I didn't know you were a girl." "Damn it, this is not a joke," she said, slamming her palms against the table. She started sliding out of the dinette. "If you won't go clean up your mess, I'll bring the mess to you." John was a big guy. He could stand up from the couch and easily block her exit, but that came with all sorts of complications he didn't want to deal with today. What he had now was more than enough. "I didn't kick out the cat, did I?" he asked. She froze at his words, giving him a wary look. "So sit down and tell me everything about their property, since you seem just bullheaded enough to force Hall's hand in letting you be there for the search." Her eyes narrowed at that, but she didn't deny it as she sat back down. "The name's John," he said, leaning forward and holding out his hand. She was still scowling as she gave it a firm shake, and John noted that her hands were calloused from some kind of hard work. "I know who you are. Heston won't shut up about you. Or that hussy, Jackie." "My name's Diana." Jackie was the farmer's daughter, so that tracked. "All right, Diana. Tell me everything you know, and we'll see about getting Heston back with my hide intact. You think you can pull it off?" Her voice was strained, but she wasn't crying. "Tell me what you know, then we'll see." Thanks for listening. If you like the story, don't forget to toss the subscribe button some aspirin before you plan the notification bell's rescue. Until next time, I hope you all have a great day or night. See you later.